completing the square. Now, the first kind of completing the square we're going to do is to solve the equation. The way you do this, you're going to subtract the plain number over. Leave yourself a little room. The way this works, you take half, and I write it off to the side. You don't really have to, but I think it helps. Take half of this number, the one that's in front of the x to the first, and then square it. 5 times 5 is 25. Whatever you do to one side, you do to the other. Now, what this does, and you don't have to think this every time, but this makes a trinomial that can be factored into a perfect square binomial, meaning it's the same factor twice. 5 times 5 is 25. 5 plus 5 is 10. You don't have to write this out either, because what we want to do is just think, hey, that's multiplied by itself, so that's squared. And then negative 16 plus 25 is 9. So you can skip this part and go right to the half goes in with x or whatever letter. Now, the whole point of this whole left side is a perfect square. So we can just take the square root. All that does is cancel the square out. X plus 5 comes out, and then the square root of 9 is 3. Now, there's also negative 3 times negative 3 is 9. So that's another square root. So you got to remember, there's a positive and a negative square root. That's where you get two answers from doing this method. Then you just subtract 5. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Or negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. 2, same idea. We're going to add that 75 over. Half of negative 10 is negative 5 this time. And that's why I say to write this down. Just jot it off to the side so if it's negative, you don't forget. Still, though, when we square it, it's plus 25, plus 25. Half goes in with the p. Take the square root. Cancels the square out. P minus 5 equals 10. Or p minus 5 equals negative 10. Add 5, we got 15. Add 5 there, you get negative 5. Now on 3, half is negative 10. And dump that 64 over on the other side by subtracting it. 10 times 10, 100. The half goes in the parentheses with x. Square root both sides. That cancels the square out. X minus 10 equals 6, or x minus 10 equals negative 6. Add the 10s, 16, or 4. Now that was to solve. The vertex form of a parabola, the vertex is like the turning point. It's the corner, kind of, when it stops going one way and starts going the other. We want to leave y where it is. So this time I'm actually just going to literally slide the number at the end over. You're still going to take half. Half of 2 is 1. You're still going to square it. 1 times 1 is 1. But this time, I don't want anything over here with y. So to balance out adding 1, I also have to subtract 1. That way it doesn't change anything overall. It's kind of silly, but that's just the way it works. The half still goes in with x, and then 3 minus 1 is 2. Now what this is, you can read the coordinates of the vertex. It's just this number, but change its sign. And then that number, don't change its sign. If we were to graph this parabola, the point here would be at -1, change that sign. 2, don't change the other one. So same idea. Slide that 5 down. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. To balance out adding 9, we got to subtract 9. The half goes in with x. 5 minus 9 is -4. Coordinates of the vertex, and it didn't ask this, I'm just going over it. Change that sign. Don't change that sign. Now, when there is a number in front of your x squared, we'll start with this one. You factor that out of the first 2 terms only. 16 divided by -2 is -8. Leave some room in the parentheses. Slide the number at the end down. We're still going to do half. Oops. Half of -8 is -4. -4 times -4 is 16. But I wrote plus 16, but this -2 out front is times. So even though I wrote plus 16, what I changed was -2 times 16. So this is like I decreased by 32. So to balance that out, add 32. Now bring the coefficient down. The half still goes in parentheses with x. And then -29 plus 32 is 3. We ignore this. I'll talk about what this is again later. Basically just stretches it and flips it upside down. The vertex, if you were asked, was 4, 3. Change that sign, don't change that sign. And then factor that out of the first 2. And be careful here because -2 divided by a half actually makes it bigger, -4. Kind of weird, that's the way it is. Then again, half of that is -2. -2 squared is 4, but half times that 4, that's a change like I added 2. So to balance out increasing by 2, we got to subtract 2. Now just bring that half down, the 1/2. This goes in the parentheses with x like before. 5 minus 2 is 3. And we also went over circle equations, which is review from geometry. For the center, all it is these 2 numbers. They're both in parentheses. So just like on the last part, we got to change their signs. And then this is r squared, the radius squared. So if you want the radius, take square root. Done. Change these signs. The center of this circle would be at 16, 2. Take the square root. Square root of 1 is 1. So the other way wants you to fill this in. It's x and y. Change the signs. Plus 13. Change the signs. -6. This is r squared, so I have to do 5 times 5, 25. Same idea here. Change the signs. And it's always a plus in the middle for circles. Now, if I square root, I just get the number. And we also had completing the square to put the circle into the center radius form. You got to rearrange. So you go x, then x, leave yourself some room, plus y, then y. Oops. Now you want to cancel that out to move it over. Half of negative 26 is negative 13 squared is 169. This time, whatever you do to one side, do the other. But we also got to complete the square for y. Half of 18 is 9. 9 times 9 is 81. Whatever I do to one side, got to do to the other. The half goes in with the x. The other half goes in with the y. And then when you add up negative 234 plus 169 plus 81, you get 16. This is the new equation in center radius form. And if I had asked, change those signs, that's the center. If you want the radius, square root of 16 is 4. So again, rearrange it so your x's are grouped together. Leave yourself some room. Group your y's together. Cancel that out to the other side. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4. Whatever I do to one side, do to the other. Half of 26 is 13. Square that, you get 169. Whatever I do to one side, do to the other. So then the half goes in with the x, the other half goes in with the y, and we get 9. And then if you wanted the center, negative 2, negative 13, radius would be 3.